Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, and we're going to talk about how we portray wealth classes within Dungeons & Dragons. And the reason why is I just been very aware, had a conversation with a good friend, and it just showed me how dramatically we misunderstand the wealth class in America today. So, with privilege comes responsibility. Some people have privilege from wealth. Wealth absolutely gives privilege. It puts you first in the line. You can buy your VIP pass. Problems. Many of your problems are going to be solved with money when you're wealthy. And wealth gives privilege. And I think one of the things, and people are like, oh, they shake their fist at the wealthy, and they're like, the wealthy are so frustrating, right? So let me give you an example of this. One of the things that people have been really frustrated lately, so we had the 2020 March problem, all right? It sweeps in, masks the whole world, everybody's got to get your jab in their arm. It's bad, right? Well, one of the things that people have been frustrated with are like these companies who made these amazing medicines that give us immunity to this 2020 March problem. Oh, they make so much money. Oh, I'm so angry with them for bringing forward this amazing medicine that gives us immunity, and they made it in a record amount of time, but they got so much money for it, and I'm so angry, right? And I think they're just sitting on their piles of money and doing nothing, and that's the part where they're wrong. They are not doing nothing. So a good friend of mine just got back, and he had been gone. I said, hey, where you been at? And he's like, I was in Germany. I was like, what'd you do in Germany? And he's like, I was there for 3 weeks. And I was like, what'd you do, right? So my friend I had known, he is a machine expert, right? And what he does is he works on machines that are used in factories. He used to work for a bottle company, and they would ship him all over America and the world. They would just fly him out, and he would fix these machines that had hundreds of parts that would make bottles for everything under the sun, right? Well, recently, he made a big jump in responsibility and big jump in money, and he works for Big Pharma now, right? And he's working on their machines, right? And so what he said is he went over to Germany, and he received an entire line of machines that were created to fill this, what's called an aggregation certification, right? And so for this big pharma company who makes these amazing medicines, he had to go over, and he said that he was dealing with a machine that does blister packing. And this machine, not only does it do all the blister packing, but it literally they have like a 30 megapixel picture that gets taken every time it creates a huge, like 50 sets of blister packs, right? And he spent 3 weeks going over like 10% of the wiring and determining if the wiring was set, and actually turning on the machines and making sure they ran, and looking at, and comparing, like, this was the design doc, this is what you promised you were going to deliver us, did you deliver this, right? And this was 3 weeks and an incredible amount of money, an incredible amount of focus, an incredible amount of just very real, very distinct labor and attention and money. So much money, right? You know how much it costs to ship my buddy to Germany for 3 weeks, and to pay him to do this work and fly him back? Thousands, and almost certainly tens of thousands, if not well over $100,000 just for his small part in the process, right? And so basically these large pharma companies, they saved us, right? Like they gave us this thing that brings immunity. The countries that aren't using it, are just having major problems with sickness and death. And the countries that did it and have these, these amazing medicines are really living the life of Riley, and are in much better position, right? So how do we look at this in Dungeons & Dragons? So here's the kicker, right? There you got your baron, and you got your baroness, and she's sitting up in her mansion, in her castle, and everybody's like, oh, you got all the gold, and you're just sitting up there and not doing nothing. That's not the case. The baroness is responsible. She is responsible to have knights, right? And she's going to have maybe 10 or 20 knights, and they're going to have squires, and she's going to have pikemen, and she's going to have archers, right? And the reality is, Within 25 miles of her castle, people live in that area. And the reason why they live in that area is they know if some brigands roll up in there and they're going to accost, they're going to accost the people in their thatch huts, right? The Baroness is going to throw down. People are going to die, right? Like, brigands can't just roll up on people within the Baroness's territory. She's going to send out her knights. She's going to send out her pikemen. She's going to send out her archers. But she's got to pay for all that. Destriers ain't cheap, right? And tunics ain't cheap. And training ain't cheap. And soldiers eat a lot of food because they're laboring because they're practicing their fighting all day, right? And so the reality is, the privileged don't sit and do nothing, right? They provide jobs, they provide protection, and it is transactional, right? And this idea that the wealthy are not people, and the idea that the wealthy need to apologize for their wealth is insane. And this is a major, major problem in America today. There's just a massive misunderstanding of wealth. But we can fix it. The 5th edition Dungeon Master can fix this. We can show how, what the Baroness pays for, the protection that extends out from her castle, the fact that her wealth is not detached from the safety and the safety and the well-being of her people. It is very much connected. All that's my opinion. What do you think? Do you agree with this new American idea that, oh my gosh, how dare these pharma, create these wonderful medicines for us in an incredibly short amount of time and then get paid for it? What? How? Do you agree with that? Or do you see what I see, that the wealth very much serve a purpose? We very much need them in this nation. They do a lot for the money they're receiving, and they have to put up with a huge amount of regulation and oversight that small businesses just don't have to, right? And that we have an opportunity as 5th edition Dungeon Masters to help Americans understand the value of the wealthy. That's my opinion. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.